NinjaTrader Order Flow Suite. Can it help your trading? Yes. Yes, it can. Hello, welcome to Douglas on Trading. Today we're going to cover the NinjaTrader Order Flow Plus Suite. Say that 5 times fast. Order Flow Plus Suite. It's a selection of NinjaTrader indicators. It's only available in the lifetime license of NinjaTrader. So if you're using the free simulated, I think they have like you can run sim and stuff for free from them, or if you're using the monthly subscription, you're not going to find this set of indicators in your list. You have to have the lifetime license. Now some of these indicators are very cool. Some of them I don't care for, but this is going to be a quick and dirty introduction. I'm not going to go into too much detail on these. I'm going to start with my least favorite first. We're going to end with my favorite, and I think you'll find that it is a pretty cool tool. So let's get started. All right, so to find these indicators, the first thing you're going to want to do is go up to your indicator list in NinjaTrader and scroll down to order flow. You get down to order flow, and we'll start with the order flow VWAP. And so you'll see that every one of these starts with the word order flow. So they're all nice, tight, compact here. You can find them all easily. They all have all sorts of different settings that you can play with. But let's just go with the basics here. So if you're familiar with VWAP lines, usually you're just going to see the one VWAP. And if you can see it, I don't know how well you can see it. The red here is just indicating that the market's in a downtrend. Basically, the price is below the VWAP line. And then it turns green when price gets above the VWAP line. And a basic trade move on VWAP would be like you wait for it to come back here, touch, give you a nice little long looking bar, and then you take that long. But NinjaTrader added these sort of waves to it. And my understanding is that each one of these lines is a standard deviation away from the VWAP. So it gives you an idea of just how far price is. And I'm not sure what the strategy would be on this. Sometimes you can catch lines kind of stuck in a channel. So if you, at the beginning of the day, I mean, this is like, it's not even the 25th yet. This is a recording of the March 25th on the ES. You can see that very early on it was kind of just hanging out in that channel. It moves sideways, it bumps up in this channel, comes down, bounces up through here. This is one of those indicators. The reason why I don't use it and don't like it, I think it's just one of those ones where you kind of can see whatever you want to see. Some days it's going to look like that this line right here is really holding, you know, every time it bounces up here it comes down, and then other days they're not going to make any sense. So I don't mind the VWAP line, just the basic line is kind of like using an EMA or a moving average. It gives you a nice idea of where price might return to at some point in time. I like EMAs, so I like the VWAP, but all of this just seems unnecessary to me. But for you, it may be a great tool. So let's move on to the next one. Let's get that out of here. We'll go to Cumulative Volume Delta. So what the Cumulative Volume Delta is doing is trying to tell you basically what's happening in between these bars. So this is a 2000 tick chart, and let's go to this little doji here. So a little doji, not much happens here, but you can see that there were more sellers. That's what this is showing you down here. There were more sellers than buyers in that bar. And every now and again you will get an up bar that has more sellers in it, or a down bar that has more buyers in it than sellers. And so, you know, in those situations it might be telling you a little something here or there. And so this VWAP moves with the total collection of buyers and sellers. So if the beginning of the session, the beginning of the day, if more sellers have been selling, then this line's moving down, and then as more buyers move in, the line starts moving up. I'm going to show you a real quick setting change on this. If you change it from session to bar, then it's not going to have that cumulative effect. It's not going to show you the up and down of the day. It's just going to show you what each individual bar had containing in it. So like you can see kind of in this section here, and this is actually where a cumulative volume can come into play for you. I just have one of the tools that we'll get into later, I think just does a better job of it. But it's going to show you so what's in each one of these bars. So we're moving down, and then you see we've got, if you come down to the cumulative volume delta, all of a sudden we get this big amount of volume here heading down into what was the previous low. And a lot of times what that can indicate to you is exhaustion. And so it's saying, hey, you know, all the sellers just spent their beans right here and now they're done. And then sure enough, we start moving up. So it can be a little indicator of that. Like if you come over here towards the top where it kind of starts getting hung up, all of a sudden you have this giant amount of buyers. Maybe that means they're spent. Maybe it means that they're getting ready to push it higher. It's hard to tell, but in those certain situations, like especially down here where it's a point of interest, where you say that was a previous low and it looks like they spent their beans, that might be a good chance for you to look for a reversal. So cumulative volume delta can be helpful, but I just got a tool I like better, so we'll get to that. We'll move this out of the way. If you see in the background here what we've got going on, actually, before we get to that tool, let's go over to the volume profile. As far as volume profiles go, this is a really good one. So it looks nice and pretty. It's showing you where the point of control is. So this orange bar through here is the point of control. That's where the most volume has happened in the day. And maybe that's why it came when it came up and pushed through here and then had this little bounce at about 3:35 a.m. Maybe it was bouncing off that large point of volume and that's what pushed it up. I don't use this indicator very often, but sometimes it can be a good bet of targets. So if you went long, let's say back here, you might want to target somewhere up in here where the next set of volume nodes is. If you're familiar with the way to play volume profiles, I'm sure you know more about this probably than I do. But as far as volume profile indicators go, this is a really good one, and it's the best one within NinjaTrader. So let's kill that. Now we'll come over to one of my favorite tools. So this is, if you look, you can see this kind of gray little bars going on here. What does NinjaTrader even call this one? The market depth map. Okay, so I actually use a program called Bookmap that gives a much prettier, colorful, more tech version of this. This is a very basic one that NinjaTrader has offered, but it's better than nothing. So let's zoom in here and we can see what's going on. So what this is doing is providing you a look back and a visual of where the heavy volume was sitting in the book. So this is better than indicators. Indicators only tell you what happened in the past. They only tell you what happened in the past, and then you have to guess what's going to happen in the future. Well, nothing's going to tell you exactly what's going to happen in the future, but this is one of the very few indicators that tells you what's happening right now. Tells you what's happening now. And so if you look over here on these lines, or this far right here, you'll see these numbers, and what those are telling you is what the orders, the resting orders in the book are. So these are the people that are letting you know where they're at in the book. These are not market orders. These are like limit orders, just sitting there waiting for the price to hit their area, and then they either trigger or they can pull. There's a lot of games that goes on. Some people pull their orders. Sometimes you'll see a giant order flash up and they're trying to move the market in some direction, then it disappears and nothing ever executes with it. It's kind of a fun game to watch when you really get into it. I don't know if this one would be, because it's so basic, would give you as much detail as that. But if you take a quick, just dirty look here at this line at 228.1075, you can see that there's been this heavy band. They've been sitting here for a while, and that's probably a good indication that, hey, it's been hung up here. So what do you've got? You got probably buyers sitting here waiting for a breakout. You may have people that sold here, and this is where their stops are. It's probably a combination of both. So when the price gets up here, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you don't know if it's going to bounce off and push down. You don't know if they're going to eat through it and launch up, but you do know that probably something is going to happen. So that's half the battle, right? Is you want to know where things are going to happen. Then you just have to find out what direction you want to play it. So it's kind of like half the battle. And so let's play this out, because what happens at 8:30 at the market open is we get some good action going on. So we're going to speed this up because I want to show you how this tool can be used. And I mean, there's no gimmies in trading, and you'll see that come up. What's going to happen is when it gets up here, they're going to pull, and they're not going to sit there like they were, but it'll still, well, you'll see what happens. All right, so let's slow this down so we can catch it. All right, so market open happened down here. Price has been pushing back up into this area of interest. You know, we've had like a triple top basically over here. And you had this huge band of players, and then they just kind of backed out. So they went from like 600 or 700 down to 339 as the price is coming up to them. So maybe they don't really intend to trade there, but you definitely need to know what's going on. So let's keep an eye on this for 1 second here. And then you'll see my favorite indicator pop up. And it's the order flow trade detector. Absolute favorite indicator. Okay, see what happens here? Huge band comes in. It was there briefly, but trade actually executed. This big bubble is the NinjaTrader trade detector. I've got it set at a ridiculous setting. It's set at 1,000, so it only takes massive trades. That's why I wanted to show you this day, this particular day, because an institutional trade happens, 1,000 sellers to 34 buyers. And with the market depth map, you can see just a little hint of it, but if you were watching at the time, this huge band of people got in the book, and then this lets you know that it executed at a mass level. And now you got to pick a direction. So you're hoping that maybe what they've done is they've pushed up, they've trapped the buyers looking for a breakout, they've run the stops on the sellers that got in too early and had their stops up here, and then the bank or institution or whoever it was, they had enough buyers and sellers. Well, that would have been all buyers, because if the sellers stops were here and then the buyers playing the breakout, that's a bunch of buyers. That's enough buyers to sell. So banks need, if they're going to move big volume, they need a bunch of buyers to sell. They need a bunch of sellers to buy. That definitely could happen in this situation. If you're aware of those kind of things, this is a good opportunity probably to go short. So, 1,000 sold off. Looks like it's playing out the way you want it to play out. And let's move forward just so you can see what happens. Boom. We crash. It took some time for that crash to happen, right? It took some time. This sold off at 838. We didn't really start moving down to 840. And then it comes all the way down 855, but that was a very nice indication of what was going to happen. So you combine this market depth map with the order flow trade detector, you will be in better shape than you have ever been with indicators in your life. I'm not saying it's magic. I'm not saying you're going to be profitable overnight or all of a sudden. Trading is still damn near impossible, but it's going to be better than any indicators that you're currently using. I'm telling you that much. So that's it for the day. If you want to learn more about these, let me know in the comments. I'll go more into depth into them. I can go definitely more into depth into the trade detector for sure. Market depth for sure. Things like the VWAP or cumulative delta, I don't use that much. I can go more into depth on their settings, but not particularly how to use them in your trading. But thanks for hanging out. This has been Douglas on Trading. Have a good day.